The pick is in.
With the number 18 pick, the Seattle Seahawks select Grey Zabel, offensive lineman, North Dakota State, presented by LinkedIn. Here to break down this pick with me, it is Corbin Smith, the host over at Locked On Seahawks. And Corbin, I know there were a lot of conversations about where Seattle could go with this pick. They end up going with Grey Zabel. How are you feeling about it?
This was a guy that was on my short list. The Seahawks badly needed offensive line help. They didn't want to force the issue making that selection with pick number 18. But Clint Kubiak's offense is going to be requiring athletic blockers that can get out in space, get on the move, win the position battle. Grey Zabel can do all of those things. One of the most athletic linemen in this class, 36.5-inch vertical, 4.6 second short shuttle. So he's got quickness, he's got explosiveness, and he's played all 5 offensive line spots. That versatility is rare, even for an FCS prospect. Shine to the Senior Bowl. This is a really good value pick, even with an FCS player, because that gap has closed clearly. We're seeing more of these FCS guys make it to the NFL ranks and get picked early by year, it feels like.
Was there anybody else that you felt like could have been a fit for this pick, or do you think that the board fell the way that it did and Grey Zabel was the guy they were going with all the way?
I think there were definitely some other names that were in consideration. Will Johnson, the corner from Michigan, was still there. Donovan Ezraku, who is yet to be picked as of the time of this recording, another player that the Seahawks could have went with off the edge. There were a few receivers. Matthew Golden went to the Packers. That's why the Seahawks were trying to trade down. They were actively trying to move down because they had a number of players they were interested in, but other teams felt the same way, so they couldn't strike that deal. Grey Zabel was number 1 of their draft board. They opted to pick the guard that can help bolster their interior offensive line.
And now the Seahawks still have more work to do. Other draft assets can certainly be used at other spots. Corbin, where are you looking for Seattle to bolster up now that you have a guy like Grey Zabel on your offensive line?
Now they've addressed their offensive line, there's a number of directions they can go. This is a really deep defensive line class, both at the tackle positions as well as edge rusher. I think there's a strong possibility that the Seahawks use one of their 2 second-rounders on a defensive lineman. And I think receiver, there's going to be a major run on wideouts in the early to middle second round. Maybe somebody like Jaden Higgins, the 6'4" receiver at Iowa State, or Jalen Royals, the playmaker out of Utah State, would make sense at 50 or 52. Those are the positions I think are the best bet there. Corner would be my 3rd selection. There's some pretty good corners still on the board as well.
And for continuing coverage of the Seattle Seahawks, subscribe to Locked On Seahawks wherever you get your podcasts. And for more on Grey Zabel, let's hear from Locked On NFL Draft, who spent a lot of time covering Grey Zabel up close.
Grey Zabel will help improve your interior offensive line as one of the better round 1 prospects in the 2025 NFL Draft. My name is Damian Parson. I am the lead host of the Locked On NFL Draft podcast. And Grey Zabel is a guy that has played 4 out of the 5 positions on the offensive line. He had a stellar week down in Mobile at the Senior Bowl. A guy that comes from North Dakota State, technically a small school, was up for the task against the big dogs. And you talk about a guy that contained the yard with the big dogs on it. He was one of the biggest dogs who handled his business. This is a guy that understands how to use his wingspan at 32. He's going to play more as an interior offensive lineman. He can play both guard spots and center. If you need to improve your interior offensive line with a quick-footed, strong guard or strong offensive lineman, that will be Grey Zabel. And for more draft prospects, go subscribe to the Locked On NFL Draft podcast wherever you get your podcasts.